We're surrounded by inspiration, success stories, endless possibilities, and infinite outcomes. It's enough to make you want to jump in and chase your own dreams. Everyone says just start, but what does that actually mean? Just starting feels really daunting. That's where we come in. The National Angel Capital Organization and the Black Founders Network are partnering to bring you women experts in our community ready to inspire and educate aspiring entrepreneurs and investors. We're going to be uncovering the secrets to building capacity, tackling challenges, and achieving success. So let's get started so that we can turn your vision into a reality. Hi everyone, my name is Faiza, and join me as we talk social impact investing with Niluka, Kottegoda. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I'm really excited to be talking to you today, talking social impact investing. Would you like to just let our audience know who you are?
Oh, sure. My name is Niluka Kottegoda, and I am the founder of a foundation called Dream Chaser Changemaker Foundation. And we invest in student entrepreneurs who are trying to do things that change the world.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about how what led you to creating the foundation.
It was actually a journey that I went on through my education. So I've been very, very fortunate. I've been able to get my undergrad and my master's without any debt because people supported me, my parents, and the organizations that I worked for. But particularly while I was doing my master's, I had noticed that very few people were supported financially. A lot of people were taking on a lot of debt to get their education, and there were very, very few nonprofits represented at the master's level and even at the undergrad level. So I saw the unfairness in that. I saw a financial barrier to education. Had no idea how I wanted to help solve it, but wanted to do something. So I started a scholarship with no idea how to run a scholarship or what to do. And then it just kind of progressed from there. Different people joined the team. People have sort of fluxed in and out. And we have now naturally evolved to more of a venture philanthropy model than a scholarship. So that's how the foundation came to be.
So that sounds like quite the journey, and I really appreciate that the aspect of your journey where you said it was based off of your experience, but you recognize an issue with I guess within that, right? And it's really encouraging to hear that you wanted to kind of change that. You wanted to support others who didn't necessarily have that opportunity like you did, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to something I noticed on your LinkedIn where you said that you want to live a purposeful life. Could you tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
Yeah, that was actually, those words were selected very intentionally because for many, many, many years, I was functioning on autopilot. I was doing everything that I was supposed to do, everything that everybody else expected me to do, and living almost by a set of values that weren't mine. And recently I decided to make some big sort of career changes and changes in my life to live a more purposeful, meaning more intentional life. So I now live by my set of values, or what is important to me, and those are relationships. So whatever my relationships are, I look for quality, not quantity, which had been a big change. I was always very much a people pleaser and trying to engage with everybody. Now I look for relationships that are beneficial, not just to my life, but I can benefit theirs. So it's really how we are both making ourselves, helping each other become the best versions of ourselves. So my relationships are really important. Nature is very important to me, being outside, being in nature. I could do an entire interview just about the power of nature and all of those things. Yeah. But I find it very rejuvenating to be out in nature, and freedom of choice. So the freedom to choose how I spend my time and who I spend it with is incredibly freeing, for lack of a better word. And that is something that I will not give up in my life again. And the last one that I always look at is fairness. Life is inherently unfair. Not everyone gets equal footing. And so whenever I see unfairness, like I did in the education system, I try to do whatever I personally can to try and rebalance things. So that's what purposeful life means for me.
Yeah, no, and I think it's really important to hear from someone like you wearing multiple hats, incorporating that into like your overall life and like belief system. What would you say to someone that aspires to take on these many roles or just is kind of running on autopilot right now, like especially because a lot of these lessons come in hindsight? What would you say to someone to kind of avoid that, maybe not avoid, but just not have to go through the really intense things that you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that before?
Yeah. So a couple things there. When it comes to autopilot, when you're in that, it's very hard to see that you're actually in it. So I would advise everyone really to find time and space, and everybody will say I have a very busy life, I don't have time for this nonsense. But really important to find time and space for quiet and to just reconnect with yourself, because that's the only way that you're going to really figure out what is valuable to you. Block out all the noise. And I heard this recently from someone that you are the only person that will be with you your entire life. The only person, the only being who will be with you your entire life is you. So if you're not listening and you're not prioritizing yourself and what you need, you're going to get lost in all of that noise. So for the autopilot feeling, just find that quiet space and try to listen and try to get reconnected with yourself. For wearing multiple hats, human beings are very multifaceted, interesting creatures. And I know for myself, I've got a lot of different parts of me that want different things. So I never want to try and be only one thing in my career or in my life, because there's so many parts of me that need attention. So all those hats kind of satisfy a different part of me. And they're all connected back to my value system.
It's really important to like ultimately ground everything into that like foundation, that system, right? I think that's a lot of the time it is lost, and like it's something that we think about after the fact. Like we're just kind of on the go, as opposed to like, what is the reason why I'm on the go, you know?
And are you choosing where you're going?
Yes.
Right? Sometimes we're just like going, and then you're like, where am I going and what for?
Okay, just a moment, like I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm like, oh yeah. But I guess not necessarily shifting gears, but let's hear more about DCCM, right? So tell us a little bit about the types of student entrepreneurs you invest in.
So first I'll tell you about the name itself. So Dream Chaser Changemaker is obviously a two-part name. The Dream Chasers are the student entrepreneurs, one of which you were when we first met. So our Dream Chasers are student entrepreneurs who are trying to change the world. This is a very unique type of individual. So not only are you a full-time student, you're trying to be an entrepreneur, and not just an entrepreneur, but you're trying to do something that's going to change the world for the better. So a very unique and amazing young individual. So those are the Dream Chasers we're looking for. The Change Makers are our mentors in our community. So with Dream Chaser Changemaker, when you win the award, you get funding for your education, because I believe education is a game changer in the world. And it all started because I thought there was unfair access to it. So education is very important to me to support people completing that. Then part of the funding will go into your initiative, whatever it may be. So we'll invest money directly into your creation. And then we offer mentorship. We offer mentorship and guidance on your entrepreneurial journey after that. And my dream is that the dream chasers that we support will go off into the world, become very successful, and come back as change makers. So we then build, hopefully, a global community of people helping younger generations change the world for the better.
I really appreciated like the holistic approach that you're taking with building the foundation, and like I think that initially when we think about investment, it sounds very transactional. It's very much you're providing money with like some sort of end goal or some sort of return, right? But it sounds like DCCM is really looking at a holistic approach to supporting not just the entrepreneur, not just the venture, but also the entrepreneur themselves. Yes. Tell us like why those elements are important, and what really informed your decision to create such a structure like that.
It was very much a team conversation. So at DCCM, we really try to engage young people because we always say we're a bunch of older people trying to figure out how to support young people. So it's important that the voice of younger generations are heard. And in discussions with young entrepreneurs, there's a lot of, I wouldn't even say there's a lot in Canada, but there's a lot of focus, I'll say, on investment, return from a financial perspective, growing as a business. But the journey of entrepreneurship is actually very challenging and can take many twists and turns, and you have to have a lot of grit and a lot of tenacity and a lot of support. You can't do it on your own. So we really wanted to focus on the person. So we're not looking for the traditional ROI, return on investment. And in fact, when we invest in your organization, we're not looking for any financial return at all. We're looking for, you to come back in the future and give back in the same way that you received when you were a dream chaser. So we're really looking for the success of the person and then the individual, because I don't think there's enough support out there for entrepreneurship, and there certainly isn't space for young people to be heard. I think younger generations find it very difficult to find a platform and to get a solid voice for themselves. So I think it's really important that those of us who have been on this journey can look back and help younger people not make the same mistakes that we did, and help them along. And I think the intergenerational conversation is really important as we sort of all traverse through the world, because there's just a lot going on right now. I look around in society and in the world and I wonder where we're going.
How did we get here?
How did we get here and where are we going? So when we find these really special like-minded people, no matter what initiative they're doing, it's going to be for positive change in the world. So I want to be able to support them in their journey as a human being and support them to be successful on their definition of success, because they're just going to be contributing to the world in a positive way, which I think is really important now more than ever.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. No, very well articulated, and I really, as a dream chaser, I could definitely
soon to be change maker. Yeah,
I could definitely speak to that. But I think thank you for that. Just thank you. And I definitely want to hear more about those hurdles, because in trying to build this this foundation, there were all these challenges and things that you kind of learned along the way. Yeah. But just kind of going back once again to the ethos of supporting student entrepreneurs. So it's about supporting their businesses, but also supporting them in their educational journeys. Yes. And you've also talked about how it's about really it's about return on people, helping the individual. So can you just kind of share with us how combining educational support and entrepreneurial support comes together for a larger social impact beyond just the individual?
I think when you have a combination of all of those things, the idea that they have, obviously we're looking at student entrepreneurs at the very beginning of that journey. So they're at sort of the seed stage or the ideation stage. And I think if you give them that confidence and you give them a little bit of structure around here's what you need to do and some guidance, then they're gonna flourish. So one of the things we look for when we're looking for applicants or when we're looking to select the award winners is how are they measuring success? And do we want to help them along that journey of achieving what they're trying to? And even if that pivots and changes or whatever, we want to make sure, again, that we're just net positive in the world. I'm not sure if that answered your question exactly,
I would
but
say so. No, it definitely does, because it starts. It's kind of like tossing a pebble in like a lake, right?
Yeah.
It's like you toss it in. There's that initial like ripple, then it kind of like ripples out, right? So that definitely answered the question.
Okay, good.
But kind of going into the journey of building DCCM. So tell us what it was like at its inception and how it's been able to evolve. You talked about teamwork, but just take us back into like the early days.
Sure. I've had a lot of fun with DCCM because I just have to laugh at myself because I think it's ridiculous because I had no idea what I was doing. And some things I still have no idea, but you're just kind of learning on that journey. And that's why I want to make sure that I can share it, because then if someone else feels clueless, then maybe I can fill in some of the gaps for them. But it started literally, I saw that there was this financial barrier to education, and I was like, how am I going to support that? And it is still to this day, hopefully not going forward, completely self-funded. So I just took $1,000 and I was like, let me make a scholarship. And then just based on my personal ethos and what I believe in the world, I wanted to look for a student that was pursuing their education for something more than just profitability or their own advancement, I'll say. And I know education has made an incredible difference in my life, so I really wanted to make sure that people had an opportunity. And although I thought it was a drop in the bucket and it wasn't really going to be that meaningful, I just wanted to start. And I called two of my friends. So this is important. Call your friends. Call whoever you know. People will want to help you. So two of my girlfriends, one from high school and one from my undergrad, Laura and Chantel, none of us had any idea how to do any of this. And Chantel was still in Nova Scotia, Laura was in Calgary, and I was in Toronto, and we just kind of figured it out. We just went to our alma mater. We all went to Acadia. They set it up with us. And Sarah was the very first recipient, you've met Sarah now, of the DCCM scholarship. And she wrote us a letter after that about how game-changing that money was for her. Because we look for people who are in financial need. She was working multiple jobs, and even though I thought it was a small amount of money, it made a big difference to her. So that was my biggest sign that this was something that should be done and that was needed out there. And then things sort of evolved, and Laura and Chantal had other priorities that they needed in their life. And so I went and I asked people again, just people I knew, people I respected, people that I knew I could work well with. And again, this ties into like the relationships and knowing the ones that you want to sort of pull on. And everyone I asked was on board. So we got a different group of people together, and they were the ones that sort of helped it evolve into this venture philanthropy thing, because I was very passionate about education and social change, and they brought in the aspect of like, hey, what about entrepreneurs? Like, let's think about this mix. And then I was like, of course. And they're the ones that made me realize that I was an entrepreneur doing this and trying to figure it out. So it was very much conversation with people that I knew. They introduced me to different organizations that could help us with getting registered as a nonprofit. So we're a federally registered nonprofit now. I got connected through other friends to lawyers that helped us with, establishing bylaws and doing all of these other things that I didn't know what a nonprofit needed and all of these things. So as we keep going, and I like that people are sort of rotating into the organization because that brings different perspective and different expertise and knowledge. And so you just, you keep learning very organically. So.
Yeah, I think so. I've been in conducting these interviews. We talk a lot about the importance of building relationships.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that we call out a lot.
Yeah.
But then in each of the conversations, like seeing how it's been applied in
everyone's different initiatives. It's just so multifaceted, but like it really emphasizes like the value of relationships, even outside of like what you want out of something. It's just like it literally happened because like you had two friends that were willing to help you, and you went to your alma mater, and like the things were done, and you were able to award someone, and that was, and it was literally just that, and over time it became something else,
and it builds.
I guess like just for like providing more context to people that might have an idea and want to like approach like a university or something.
Sure.
What were those initial conversations like? What were the structures that you kind of had to put in place to be able to pass this on, like this scholarship on to a student?
Well, when you're giving money away, universities and organizations are very open to talking to you, but what you need to do is to find the right person to speak to, because they can also be a bit of an administrative nightmare. So what we've evolved to now is partnering with actual programs in the universities. So we're looking to partner with entrepreneurial programs and maybe social change programs, so that we can connect with the leaders of those individual programs, get a direct funnel into communicating with those students. Much more effective. We tried to do like social media on our own, or email blasts, or just try to get the message out there, but it was actually extremely difficult to get to the students. I'm like, we're trying to give money away. Why is this so difficult to do? Like free money, literally. So yeah, we've learned that you've got to get to the right person, and best if you can hone in and make it as, I guess, niche and outreach as possible.
Yeah.
And if you can connect with actual programs that are totally aligned with what you're trying to achieve, that's probably the most efficient way to do it.
Okay. Oh, thank you. And now, as DCCM has evolved, you've talked about more team members kind of joining in and providing their perspective, which is super valuable.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about some of the learnings, or before we get to learnings, tell us about some of the challenges that like you've seen as you're trying to like build it up with this like new set of team members.
Well, the team members are all 100% volunteers. So it's not like managing a normal team where, I guess, a normal team in a corporate organization where you can push and you can, you know, sort of make demands on people. That's not what DCCM is at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. Everyone who's there is there because they want to be, and they believe in the cause, and they believe in what we're doing. So you're working with a very different kind of team when that's the setup for it. So I very rarely have to push anybody. Like, they're just very willing to go, very willing to work, very willing to sort of come with me on this journey. So it's been really interesting. It can be challenging. Like, I had some issues about a year and a half ago, I would say. I hit burnout. It was too much. I needed to take a break. And at first the team was able to just continue without me, but I found when I had to step away, everything kind of went on pause. And that's not, it's not a bad thing, it's not a negative thing, but it actually gave me time to reflect and refocus on whether DCCM was something I still wanted to do or not. It was really, I took a full year to assess what I want to do in my life and where I want to go and all of these things. And that's all part of the entrepreneurial journey, is like the strain from a mental health perspective is very real.
Yep.
And I think we need to have more and more conversation about that and get rid of the shame around it and get rid of any, and I will sit here and tell you, I was 100% burnt out. Burnt out, had nothing left to give, nothing. And I had reached the point where it was physically affecting me as much as mentally affecting me. So I had to take time off to recover from that. And it's honestly the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And I am a very big advocate for now taking time before you hit that point.
Yeah.
Like, don't do what I did in that scenario.
Yeah.
But, you know, the team members that came back, again, are very committed to the mission. And the new team members have just brought new energy into it. And again, it was the new team members were introduced to me by the person who was already on the team. And as we talk about, so we need fundraising, we need more experience on social impact investing, and then, you know, we all think about our network and we're like, oh, I know this person, I know that person, and then you have a conversation. And for me, it's very much about fit on the team. Yeah. Are you going to fit in, and are you going to be able to function in this kind of like very casual but highly effective environment that we've created? It's very unique. So it's important, again, to create the relationships that are going to be beneficial for both of you, and in this case, that are going to be beneficial for the team overall.
No, yeah, like absolutely. And before I kind of get to what you just said, I really appreciate your call out on mental health and entrepreneurship. I feel like we always talk about how entrepreneurship is really hard. It takes a lot, and it is true. These things are true. Yeah. And I think that with that discourse, for at least for me anyways, it kind of tells me that there's no room for mental health care and entrepreneurship while you're in it, because you're kind of going into it knowing that it's going to be difficult. You have to put in so much, right? And it's lonely, and it's isolating, right? So I think it's really important that you called that out, but more important that you called that out, but you're here talking to us today about your ability to build. Like, you took the time to like evaluate everything, and like you continued. And I think that and you're finding balance now, which is very important. So I really need to just highlight that, because I'm pretty sure like some of our viewers, it's like, I want to do it all, and I'm saying that as someone that likes to try and do it all, but it's like, this is not sustainable, you know. But I guess I think as I was hearing you talk about the casual but effective team style, what role do you find like your leadership, I guess, what style of leadership do you have, and like what role do you think that plays in it being effective?
Think about that one. What style of leadership? I guess it's almost like I've surrounded myself with people that have different experience and different skills, different perspective than I do. And it's very, although it came together very naturally and organically, it is, everybody has a little piece of what we're trying to do. And I am acutely aware that there is absolutely no way I could do it without any of these people. So I'm very appreciative of that. I don't approach things as I am leader. Here I am. Like, I'm just more there to help everybody be the best version of themselves. And if they want to help push DCCM, then I'm very appreciative of that. So, and we like to have fun. We're always joking around. We are not a highly structured type of organization. And I love that, because we're all just friends also at the same time. And I think, you know, a lot of times in my career, I had been told, you can't be friends with the people that work for you. And I just don't think that's true. For me, anyway, I've always been friends with the people that work for me in every single one of my people management positions or anything that I've ever done. I've always created friendships out of those things. And so I think that's really important. Like, I see people as human beings, and in this case, my friends first, and like team members and people who are working together second.
Mic drop.
Or sticker off. In this case.
No, literally sticker off. But okay, so speaking to like your friendships in this organization, could you tell us a little bit about, you earlier you spoke to like the different perspectives that they're bringing into DCCM. Could you please share a little bit more about what those perspectives are and how it's supporting the overall structure of what DCCM is becoming?
Sure. So the most recent team members are Sean. He comes from a background of a tremendous experience in entrepreneurship directly. He has built incubators and accelerators in the past. He's got a tech background. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. So he's been working on structuring our mentorship program and really focusing in on our partnerships and building those. And then we have Chiaro, who came in, and he has experience actually from a student leadership perspective and from an entrepreneurial perspective as well. And he's been incredible in terms of sort of building out the program itself, what the award looks like. And he also has a bit of a design and communication background. So he's been able to sort of update our website, and we're working on a communications plan with our Youth Advisory Council, of which you are a member. And then on our board, we've got Ahmed, who's an entrepreneur. He was a student entrepreneur. I met him when his initiative was getting off the ground. We were in New York, and I was like, who is this kid who's doing all this stuff? And he and I just sort of stayed in touch after that. And so he brings that student entrepreneurial perspective. My friend Andrew is on the board, and he's a marketing, we call him a marketing guru. So he's been at Google, he's been on the CPG side, and he's now in like the cryptocurrency area, which is really interesting. So he's got a super diverse background from a marketing perspective. And our two newest board members, Christelle is huge in the social impact investing world, and Tanya just joined, and I'm excited about her joining because, as I mentioned, DCCM has been completely self-funded up to now, but she is coming on board from a fundraising perspective to help us grow and really, make DCCM an organization that can stand on its own. So
yeah, no, that's literally sounds like a powerhouse of a team right there. I think in you describing the individual and like just their qualities, the things that they bring to the table, you called out like the different aspects of what a foundation like DCCM needs. It's like having the programming, the right type of programming to support the student entrepreneurs. It's about the communication and how to reach them to actually find out about the opportunity. We've talked about funding, which is really important because yes, it's self-funded, but you also know that you want to be able to provide as many resources as possible to these student entrepreneurs. Is there anything else I missed there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's just
that.
it's it's really about putting together these pieces of the puzzle to so you can see the full picture. So no, thank you for just elaborating that, and I hope everyone's taking notes. But I guess with that now, kind of changing things up a little bit. So could you tell us a little bit about DEI and social impact investing? So you've talked about the focus on student entrepreneurs, but can you tell us about how DCCM incorporates diversity, equity, and inclusion in your investment decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just like everything else, we do that organically. So we're a very diverse group in ourselves. So we are acutely aware of some of the issues that marginalized people can face. So when we are going through applications, financial need is one of the criteria that we look for. I mean, I still support students who are financially well off, but the ones that need our funding really are the students that we're looking for. And unfortunately, that in itself often funnels you to marginalized communities. And I recently did some research into the largest need groups, and so there were several groups that we would want to support, like Indigenous students, BIPOC students, LGBTQ+ students, and we had quite a long discussion about should we target one of these groups or should we leave it open? And we decided to leave it open because by selecting one group, you're eliminating another. So rather than say we only support, these diverse groups, we very organically look at the person. We look at the individuals. The initiatives very often will be so early in their development that you can't fully assess what the outcome of that initiative is. And as I said in the beginning, we aren't looking for financial return, and we don't care if you pivot and you change whatever you're doing. We really want to dive deep on who this individual is, and are they going to be a game changer in the world, and do we believe in them? And I've often talked about it as my ideal sort of model is not the voice itself, but you know how the mentors on The Voice fight with each other to support the person because they believe so much in that individual. That's the kind of energy that I'm looking for when we find these dream chasers and we just go, wow, look at that person, you know? And we just want to do everything possible to help them be successful in whatever they're doing.
It's really about setting the stage, setting the foundation, because it's like, if you don't, especially for students specifically, if you don't know where to go or how to start, right? You need that, like, it's amazing to have a person or like an organization that's willing to like uplift you, like get you started, right? And then you can be like, okay, this is where I'm thinking of going, or this is how I'm thinking of going, right? I love how we kind of go back to that direction thing. It's like setting the foundation and figuring it out. No, thank you for that. I keep saying thank you because no, this is really insightful. But but just like with that return on people model, right? What role do you think social impact investing can play in promoting a more equitable and just society?
Oh, I think it's got a huge role to play because I was actually having a conversation last night with a friend of mine. He was visiting from the US, and he was saying how even there he's seeing this, there was always this sort of make more money drive around, but we had sort of started to see a bit of a swing into like more social consciousness and that sort of thing. But with everything that's going on with inflation and everything that everyone's sort of economically struggling around the world, there is a bigger push for money. Money at people's expense, at whatever, you know, whatever it takes, let's make more money. So I think it's really important that while it is, I'm not saying it's not important to make money, because it is, because everybody has to live. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy having a comfortable life. Like, I want to be comfortable in my life. I don't want to be struggling. But it's just so important that while we are making money, that we can also be doing great things. And we can be doing net positive things, and we can be helping each other. There's nothing wrong with making money. There is something wrong, to me, in not helping others as you go along that journey. And that's why I've also, in the spirit of wearing multiple hats, I'm now working with an organization called Impact as well. And we help organizations, both profit and nonprofit, benefit from solving social problems. And one of the base beliefs there is that social change is good for business, and business is good for social change. So I have always said and always believed that those two can live very much in the same space. So we can push forward in terms of driving economies and driving business and all of these things, and you can push social change at the same time. So when people start to invest in socially conscious initiatives and socially conscious businesses, that's where you're going to start to see that shift actually happen. And we can speak with the dollars that we invest, the dollars that we spend. Consciously spending your money to support what you believe in, that's like, it's almost like voting. So it's so important to me that we do that.
And I think that it's excellent that you call out like social change impacts business, and business affects social change, right? That's like super significant. And like, I think with everything that you've said, you start to see that it's like you're investing into like what social change looks like by you contributing to that as an individual, right? And like, once you start doing it enough as a collective, like you start to see the changes, as opposed to it being like I'm just doing this for now, right? And I feel like that should be the mindset around it. But like, of course, we have existing systems and structures that make it just a little bit challenging trying to get to that point. But kind of like circling back to like you as like a person and like your skill sets, what do you think are some of the essential qualities or skills that you've honed in on while building DCCM?
Skills that I've honed in on. I think the biggest thing that I've learned is not necessarily a skill, or maybe it is, but I keep circling back to the listening to yourself piece. I think that's the biggest skill I've picked up in this journey, is that I'm not doing this as in my life for anybody else. And I used to be I'll say I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I, wanted all of that external recognition and all of those things. But if you're on an entrepreneurial journey and you're on a journey that's different than other people's, and you feel like you really believe in something, but other people aren't necessarily getting it, you have to do it anyway. You have to just listen to what's right for you. And I'm not saying if you think it's right to go commit a crime, do that. Like within reason and within, within what is lawful and what is reasonable. If you believe in something, then you have to do that for yourself. And if other people believe in that dream, then that's super exciting, and you can take off from there. But I wouldn't say that there's necessarily one skill, because there's so many that you pick up along the way. You're learning something new every day. And every day as an entrepreneur, you turn around and there's like, oh God, there's something else I have to do, something else I have to learn. But that's all part of the journey, and it's all really fun. So it'll be a struggle at times, but at the end of the day, it's a much more enjoyable journey to create something that you believe in and that you're doing for yourself than to be doing it and working really hard just for other people all the time.
No, absolutely. And I guess with you building this, what would you say has been like the biggest learning thus far, or biggest challenge, I would say, that's led to a learning for you, was like in you doing all this?
Biggest challenge for me, I would say, was when I had to take a step back and when I had to take a break. I felt guilty that I wasn't on point and I wasn't on top of everything, and that it was taking a pause. I felt guilty about that. I felt like a failure. I felt like, maybe I should quit DCCM. Maybe I should shut it down. I even reached that point at one stage because I felt like it wasn't getting traction. But when I stepped back and I thought about the things in my life that I wanted to continue and the things in my life that were meaningful to me, and I just regrouped with people, that energy was sort of reborn. So as much as you're going to try and prepare, and as much as you try and anticipate how that's going to feel, you're going to feel that failure piece as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's on their own journey. And understanding in that moment that it's temporary, that you need to feel that in order to get to the other side of it. That's, I think, what I've learned how to do, because I used to get stuck in that place. And then that's what drives anxiety, depression, burnout, all of those things, is your mind gets stuck in that place where I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I haven't done this, I feel guilty about all of those things. So instead of sitting in that and getting stuck in it, you recognize it as something you have to feel and something you have to go through in order to be on this journey and get to the other side. It's teaching you something. And I don't like to say it makes you stronger, because everybody says that, but it makes you different and it makes you grow. So it's good to be uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, it makes you different for you. Like, absolutely. I think similarly, I like calling it like there's no need to marinate in the bad stuff, right? You don't want you want a nice tasting meal. Like, you don't want to marinate in the bad stuff. But no, that I feel like it's definitely really important, because a lot of the times it is easy to get stuck, right? Especially since hard feelings are hard, right? Like, that's literally what makes it hard. So no, I think that that's really important. But kind of looking at everything in hindsight and all your experiences is like while trying to build DCCM or while building DCCM, like if you're to kind of synthesize and think through like some steps that you would take, like with what you know now, what would that look like? What are some practical first steps you tell to someone that's trying to get started?
Trying to get started.
With building a foundation.
Trying to get started building a foundation.
Yeah.
Number one, I would say, I would still just do it. Like, start small. Start doing something. If you know what problem or what unfairness you want to address, then just do something. Because that's going to lead to a lot of other things. What I would advise, and what I didn't do, is to, as you're doing that, testing out little things, do a lot of research. Find out where you can reach the people you're trying to reach. And the biggest thing is to reach out to the people that you know. And I hate using the term networking because networking kind of has this like schmoozing connotation to it. And it's, I guess the principle behind networking is building relationships, but the relationships that have helped me on this journey and that have stuck are the ones that are real, the ones that are quality, the ones that are genuine connection with other human beings. And my friends. They're people that I know and enjoy spending time with and are willing to help you for no other reason than to help you. It's not a transactional thing. It's not these are people you can depend on. Those are the relationships that you lean on. And very important to make sure that you have your support people around you, like your core people. Not everybody in all of these relationships, even the important ones, are going to be those people, but the ones that you can call when you're at your lowest, because that is the worst and most dangerous time to be isolated and to isolate yourself. I would just say, like, when you're feeling low, please, 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 just reach out to that one person or two people that you know will tell you the truth and will sit with you in that space until you're ready to come out of it. It's so important to have those people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think especially sitting with you and like sitting with you in compassion too. Really recognizing.
Don't try and fix it. Don't tell me what I should have done or how I should be. Like, that's kind of the worst thing is to hear is you have this and this and this and this. Why aren't you okay? And it comes from a good place, but it's not actually helpful.
Especially in the moment, right? Timing and context matters, right?
Yes. Validate how the person is feeling.
Yeah.
And just stay with them.
And that's the best thing you can do in that moment.
Oh,
yeah. And like going back to what you mentioned about the research aspect of like getting into the space, right? I know it's contextual based off of the type of organization you want to build, but in the case of DCCM, what were some of the resources or organizations you looked into while trying to learn more about social impact investing?
I don't think I necessarily looked directly into social impact investing. We did do a scan of we did scholarships and other sort of incubators and all of these things. And there were some that are social change oriented, but none that really had this return on people model that were in existence purely for the founder. And we heard that from founders. So when I say research, it's not really like, Google Scholar and libraries or wherever you want to go to do that sort of secondary research. But one of the most important things I found is talking to people who were in that world. Talking to the student entrepreneurs, talking to the people at the universities, talking to all of the people that are in that kind of space and asking them what they need. Instead of assuming that you know what they need and, this is the problem I'm going to go solve. I'm going to be the hero of this. You realize that you may not have actually identified the problem.
Yeah, not sure. And like in asking them what they need, like what did what did those questions look like? I think that when we're doing those like a scan or trying to understand these problems or these needs, there's a tendency to kind of get into the, like, you have an idea of what it is you want to bring to life and you want to ask questions in that direction. But what questions did you find yourself asking, and how did that lead to rich insights for you and for DCCM?
I think we were trying to fine tune our mentoring program, like what type of mentorship people would need. And so we just simply asked the question, what would you want from a mentor? And a lot of times the answer was more around like the human support versus I need someone to tell me how to run my finances. I need someone to tell me how to, market this product. Like, student entrepreneurs are very creative people by nature. So they're going to come up with ideas, but may need to be guided in whatever for their initiatives and for their businesses. But having someone to support you as a human being is very different. Very different. Return on people.
Individual.
Yeah.
If there's anything anyone's gonna take away, it's the person. Is there anything else you'd like to share about like your work, your passion, or like your passion for social change as a whole?
I think I just want to thank you guys for allowing us to speak about it, because the more we speak about it, the more it'll get out there, and hopefully it'll spark interest for people in the audience. So I think I appreciate the opportunity to even talk about it and to get the word out there. And thank you for also holding space to have a conversation about the human side of the entrepreneurial journey and what that means from a mental health, physical health, human experience. So I appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing, like just being really vulnerable and open today. I think it's really important for I don't want to call it a narrative, but these experiences to be told, right? Like we read a lot about people online, but social media puts people on pedestals, right? And you forget that by the end of the day, like everyone's a human, as opposed to like this glorified thing that they've entitled to be. And it's not to discount their experiences or their accomplishments, but it's really refreshing, and it acts as a, like I'm a person by the end of the day, right? So thank you for your openness, for your honesty, and for educating us all today. And thank you.
Awesome, thank you very much.